For introduction, the history of the South Korea. South Korea was the one of the world's poorest nation in 1916, but during the last 16 years, it has grown to be one of the biggest economy on the worldwide. Innovation and technology are the main reason of South Korea's successful economic growth. In a few generations, South Korea went from being an underprivileged country to one that was developed and had a high revenue. South Korea's economy is highly developed mixed economy. Its economy ranked 13th globally and
Introduction of inflation in Korea. Inflation is an increase in the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. When the general price level rises, each unit of currency buys foreign goods and services. Consequently, inflation reflects a reduction in the purchasing power of money, a loss of real value in the medium of exchange and unit of account within an economy. A chief measure of price inflation is the inflation rate, the annualized percentage in the general price index. There are several causes of inflation. First, increased demand. When demand of goods and services increase, businesses may increase price to meet the demand and make a profit. Second, increase production cost. If the cost of production increases due to factors such as rising raw material costs, businesses may pass this cost to customers through higher prices. Third, money supply growth. When the money supply grows faster than the economy, it can lead to higher prices as more money chased in the same amount of goods and services. Fourth, government policies. Governments can contribute to inflation through policies such as printing more money, which is increase the money supply, or setting the highest tax and tariffs, which is increase in the cost of goods. Lastly, change in exchange rate can also contribute to inflation. For example, if a country's currency weakens against other currency, it may lead to higher prices for important goods. This graph shows inflation rate and annual change for Korea for 2012 to 2021. From 2012 until 2015, inflation rate is consistently decreased from 2.19% to 0.17% in 2015, then increased in 2 years later to 1.4% in 2017. But in 2019, Korea achieved the lowest rate in inflation, which is 0.38%. Korea back into the right way in increasing inflation rate. Korea achieved 2.50% in inflation rate on 2021. Same goes to annual change for Korea. From 2012 to 2014, annual change had increased from negative 1.83% to 0.03%, decreased to negative 0.57%, and increased back to positive point, which is on 0.27% in 2015. But Korean had significant change, which is growth to 0.97%. For the next 2 years later, annual change decreased again to negative 1.09% in 2019, and increased again to highest point, which is 1.97% in 2021.
Inflation can have a number of effects on a country like South Korea. Some of the potential effects include: inflation can erode the purchasing power of money, which means that it takes more money to buy the some goods and services. This can be especially difficult for people on fixed income, such as retirees who may not be able to keep up with rising price. Higher inflation can also lead to higher interest rate, which can make borrowing more expensive. This can be a problem for business that rely on borrowing to finance their operation, as well as for the individual who need to take out loan to buy home or car. Inflation can also affect exchange rate, as its vendor may be less likely to invest in a country with high inflation. This can lead to volatility in the exchange rates, which can make it difficult for business that rely on export or import. Inflation in South Korea can be caused by a variety of factors, including demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, monetary inflation. Demand pull inflation, this occurs when there is an increase in consumer demand for goods and services, which lead to higher price. For example, if the South Korea economy is growing rapidly and there is high demand for housing and consumer goods, this can lead to an increase in price. Next, cost push inflation. This occurs when the cost of production increase, such as an increase in the price of raw material or labor. For example, if the cost of oil increase, this can lead to an increase in the price of transportation, which can then lead to higher price for goods and service. Next, monetary inflation. This occurs when there is an increase in a money supply, which can lead to higher price if the demand for goods and service do not increase at the same rate. For example, if the Bank of Korea increase the money supply by lowering interest rate, this can lead to higher inflation if the demand for goods and service does not increase at the same rate.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nafati Syahira binti Hani, and I am from MBA 193A. I will present to you about the unemployment rate in Korea from 2012 to 2021. The graph shows that the unemployment rate from 2012 to 2013 decreased from 2.81% to 2.755%, which makes the annual changes decrease as well as by 0.06%. However, Korea's unemployment rate started to increase continuously from 2013 to 2016. The annual changes for 2014 then increased drastically by 0.33%, which makes the unemployment rate for that year 3.08%. Furthermore, the annual changes for 2015 and 2016 increased by 0.47% and 0.10% from their previous years. That makes their unemployment rate 3.555% and 3.65%. The unemployment rate for 2017 remained the same as 2016. Therefore, there was no annual changes for the year. The unemployment rate Korea then increased again in 2018 to 3.82%, along with the annual changes 0.17%. Unemployment rate has increased continuously since 2013. One of the reasons it happened is because of the increase in the number of students that had graduated from their college that are waiting for a job opportunity. Therefore, they did not manage to get one due to the delayed establishment of professional and semi-professional positions. The government has made attempts to lower the unemployment rate, which was the Government Youth Employment Support Program. However, it changed just marginally. The purpose of this program is to increase the demand for skilled labor. The second reason for the increase in the unemployment rate is because of the youth themselves. They were not interested in running a business, whether it was small or big. Working in a small place, and they even refused to work despite the high-paying 3D job because they believe that choosing low-paying and irregular job in big companies will give them better chances. Changes in labor demand also affected the unemployment rate in Korea. With the growth and changes in IT, the following things have happened in advanced economies. Furthermore, every country, even Korea, is starting to pay more attention to technology. Therefore, there was a big demand for people who knew how to use technology as technology took over jobs. There was a big gap between the wages of professionals and low-skilled workers that lead to the number of routine jobs going down. The future number projections released by Statistics Korea indicates that the population of people aged 25 to 29 will increase by 390,000 between 2017 and 2021. As a result, when this age group enters the labor market, it may cause the unemployment rate among young people to rise. The graph shows that the unemployment rate from 2019 is 3.75%, which makes the annual changes decrease by 0.07%. Next, in the year 2020, the unemployment rate is 3.93%, with an increase of annual changes of 0.18%. Last but not least, the annual changes for 2021 decreased by 0.40%, that makes the unemployment rate 3.53%. The fall in unemployment rate in Korea in 2019 was because of the offers from the government to help the economy grow and make jobs by planning record spending in 2020 and a boost to the budget for this year. Park Jong-hoon, an economist at Standard Chartered Bank in Seoul, was worried about the increase in the unemployment rate in Korea, which made him want to take the issue as a crucial thing. Therefore, he decided to look up all the data from the previous year and try to go fix the issues. However, Korea had to face an increase in unemployment again in 2020 due to COVID-19 cases. COVID-19 gave a lot of bad impacts on Korea. Everyone was required to stay at home and was not allowed to go outside the house freely until the government allowed the people to live a normal life like before. As the common effect accounts for the majority of the decline in employment, the labor market continued to deteriorate in December. These results imply that COVID-19 will have a lasting harmful effect until the threat of infection is eliminated. Particularly hard hit were wholesale and retail establishments, as well as those in the food and accommodation industries, as well as educational service providers. In addition, employment losses were highly concentrated in workers with temporary contracts, women, and people with lower levels of education. Even though the rate of job loss for these categories has slowed down significantly over time, there will still be a significant amount of job loss. For example, 819,000 service sector workers were laid off. Another thing that stands out in the growing bad effect on the trading sector, the bad effects on the manufacturing sector are getting worse, and in December, 214,000 jobs were lost. However, the unemployment rate in South Korea reached a record low in August 2021. According to figures provided by Statistics Korea, the number of unemployed individuals in August was 28.41 million, an increase of 807,000 over the previous year. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 2021, the number of employed persons in the country has been steadily increasing, signaling a significant improvement in the country's work situation.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Nofari Midi Roslan and I'm from MBA 1193A. I'm going to talk about type of unemployment in Korea. There are three types of unemployment in Korea, which is seasonal unemployment, frictional unemployment, and structural unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. South Korea lost nearly 1 million jobs as a result of the COVID-19 disease. In the service sector, job losses were most prevalent. Jobs in retail, lodging, and dining were among of the worst affected. When young Koreans first enter the workforce, they typically work in these positions. As a result, many young Koreans have recently found it challenging to enter the workforce or develop their career. Frictional unemployment. There are two possible interpretations for the phrase: unemployment due to improper salary, labor hour, and working conditions. It could simply indicate that the job seeker only targets undesirable position, primarily as a result of a lack of accurate labor market knowledge. Lastly, structural unemployment. Companies are requesting more work experience, which is difficult to acquire in the current school system. Despite South Korea's high rate of university enrollment, many graduates find it difficult to enter the workforce right away.
For the conclusion, as an overall, we have discussed about inflation and employment in Korea for about 10 years. There is also talk about the causes and potential effects of inflation. As a developed country, Korea have not experienced much increase in inflation, but for the unemployment in Korea has led to increase since 2013 due to many students who have finished studying but it's hard to get a job. Like other countries, the impact of coronavirus gives really high rates and experience in inflation and employment.